I wasn't planning on starting a business actually. I moved to South America. I moved to Uruguay, all the way down south by myself. I had never been to the country before. I didn't know anybody that lived there, how it all started, and how much, courage it took me to start a business, in a second language. I'm Caroline. I'm the owner and founder of La Gringuita Cookies. It's a bake from frozen cookie dough business located in West Palm Beach, Florida, and we sell our quarter-pound stuffed cookies to stores throughout South Florida, including all Whole Foods stores.
Diversified Game. Learn how to start, run, and sustain your business.
Hey, it's Kellen, and yes, I'm in the car still getting that roof done. For all those who are wondering why is he in the car, but today my guest, Miss Caroline, I am like the perfect tester for all sweets. So when I tell you, when you're going through the store and if you see her cookies and the links will be in the description, I probably have some crumbs on my mouth. But her cookies are delicioso. When I start speaking Spanish, and it's bad Spanish, I'm serious. But these are some serious churro-packed, jelly-packed cookies that I am vouching for, and my dentist knows I know something about sweets. Miss Caroline, welcome to Diversified Game. How are you doing today?
Good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy we could finally make this happen. So I'm just super excited to be here.
I know someone who yesterday interviewed one of the founders of Ben & Jerry's, and when he was showing me his interview, I was thinking, like, the next day I have an interview with the female version of the next, if you want to say Mrs. Fields, like, your cookies are good. Only thing I'm happy and upset about is you don't, like, have the Costco big pack for everyone to, like, eat all day and get sick. Like, you cut us off at a very responsible amount, because me and my kids, my wife's not a big sugar person, and we thank her for that. but your cookies are like, we're like, hold on, everybody gets one. And if someone can't finish it, that's still that person's cookie. Don't eat it at night. And I'm really talking to myself when I say that. But that's how good the cookies are. And your cookies have a story on the back. I'm not going to tell it. You can tell it if you want, because I really want them to go buy the cookies and read it, because I really like it. It was a real story. But how did we, give us a sample of how did we get here?
Yeah, so it's a long story. So I'll give you the shortest version. I wasn't planning on starting a business actually. I moved to South America. I moved to Uruguay, all the way down south by myself. I had never been to the country before. I didn't know anybody that lived there. I didn't know anybody that had been there. And I got a job teaching English as a second language. I just love to travel. So before starting the business, I was like just super obsessed with traveling and meeting people and experiencing different cultures. So I ended up there, and I ended up living in like a dorm style apartment. So it's kind of like a long-term hostel, like bunk bed style. There were like 15 of us in the apartment. And I was there for just about a year, and I was baking for my roommates. I had always baked. I, again, never planned on starting a business, but I was just baking for them with like recipes that I grew up with, and a lot of like nostalgic, classic, kind of like American style desserts, like classic cookies. And my roommates, who were all from South America, it was a majority or a mix of Uruguayans, Venezuelans, and a guy from Cuba. And they're all like, oh my God, my cookies especially are amazing. Like, you should totally sell them. And I was like, okay, like, never gonna happen. But in Uruguay, I ended up just starting like an Instagram page. I was there are more details, but I was heavily influenced by my friends and roommates. And I started this Instagram page. I started taking pictures of my creations, and I started getting traction. And so I ended up coming up with all original recipes. I just spent hours in the kitchen coming up with more and more recipes. And I finally came up with like the perfect cookie. They're thick. They're really unique. They're thick, they're dense, but they're moist, and they're stuffed. And so I would come up with like different fillings to stuff the cookies. And I started selling them out of my apartment. by year 2 in Uruguay, I'd moved to a studio apartment. So finally had my own space, and I started selling the cookies. And it kind of like became a little side business in Montevideo, the capital of Uruguay. I was obviously selling the cookies in Spanish, which is not my native language. And that's why the name of my business is so important to me. It means little American girl in Spanish. It's like gringo, so la gringuita. And it just has to do so much with like my story and how it all started, and how much, courage it took me to start a business in a second language. But I really think back on, so many people move to the United States and start businesses here. And that's just, it's very normal. And so I try to think about people that, are so courageous to come to the United States and start businesses in a second language. And if they can do it, who am I to be scared? And so, yeah, just huge part of my story of like how I started. And now I've been in business in the States. I came back because of the pandemic. So I've been in business for just over 4 years. So that was the long story short.
Yeah, I'm curious, since you started a business, are you now fluent? How is your Spanish?
Yeah, so I have been practicing. I studied abroad in Spain for a year. And then I got so obsessed with being in Spain that I ended up finding a job just on Google in a hotel. I was like, I need to go back to Spain. So I went back to Spain when I was 21, again, by myself. I just found this random job that was going to host me in a hotel. So it was like a work exchange. I could be in Spain for free because I had no money. And then I would work in this hotel. In the hotel, nobody spoke a word of English. So it really forced me to, again, get out of my comfort zone and be really proficient in Spanish. So by the time I moved to Uruguay, I was already, quote unquote fluent. Uruguay has a totally different Spanish. It's similar to the way that, the American accent is different from the British accent. So I moved there and it was just like a totally different type of Spanish. So it was a big learning curve for me, but I didn't really have American friends or English speaking friends when I was there. So all of my friendships were in Spanish, and it just, kind of forced me to like step into a new identity in the second language. And I think that also really helped my mindset when I started a business, because I had already kind of like, reinvented myself a little bit.
Now, I know one thing, leads to another. College can then lead to a study abroad, but you don't necessarily have to go to college to do, a work exchange. But I like to ask people, because I tell people, don't rush to college. Paying Sally Mayback took a lot for me to pay her back for grad school and all that. But would you say that going to college and studying and working abroad changed your life, and which one was more impactful, and would you encourage young people to do?
Yeah, so I've had this conversation with my parents, because I grew up in a really traditional household where it was, you study, you go to college, then you get a 9-to-5 job, you get married, have kids, period. And I never had that. Like, I just didn't really fit into that lifestyle. So I did go to college, but I don't think that it was necessarily for me. I think that it can be really good for some people. It wasn't, I don't want to say don't go to college, because it can be very good for some people. I think what I learned most, for me personally, it was what I didn't want in life. And then the study abroad experience was amazing. So being able to detach from, the life that I had grown up in and experiencing something totally novel in a different country was totally mind, opening. And then once I had that year in Spain, of just kind of, it was still a study abroad program. So it was still catered to like towards American students. I was still kind of getting like my hands held. But when I went back to Spain and just found that job on Google, that was definitely the best learning experience for me, and like who I want to be in the world. You know, I show up in a different country by myself at 21 years old, and it's like, okay, you know, who am I? And so that to me was the best learning experience, not so much sitting in a classroom, but everybody learns differently. So I don't want to say don't go to college, but I definitely don't think it's the end all be all.
Okay, and we never want to say don't go because we have a 2 million plus nursing shortage and a doctor shortage. So if you're going to go and save lives, great. But if you're going to go for political science and mass comm, and I'm talking about myself, we can train you how to do all those things. You know, so, you know, with the cookie business here, I mean, you're in the stores. Let people know where they can find you in the stores. And also those in Uruguay and maybe other places outside of the country. Are you going to come back to Uruguay and ship? They're like, don't leave us. Come back. Gonna keep.
Yeah. So, okay. So first here in South Florida, you can find the baked from frozen dough. They come in pouches like this in, a lot of like gourmet markets. The easiest place to find them would be Whole Foods. So I sell to all South Florida Whole Foods, and then you can find them in the frozen dessert section, like close to the pies, the frozen pies. And then for selling abroad, I can't do too many things at once since this is a startup, but long term, I definitely see that as a possibility because I know that if I had a demand at one point, I know that there is a want and a need for my product. So, you know, you never know, but I think that would be pretty far into the future because it takes a long time to, establish a business. And I think that La Gringuita is still very new.
Hello, everyone. Come along with London and Sydney as they show you around the vibrant country of Cameroon. Explore the heart of Africa through the eyes of London and Sydney. Two explorers who journey across the great city of Yaoundé, exploring its rich culture, vibrant market squares, cultural heritage, and wildlife. With giggles and excitement, London and Sydney Explore Cameroon takes you on a fun-filled adventure, providing insight into the country's culture and traditions through the pages of this book. It's packed with exciting stories and super cool facts about Cameroon that will make you go, wow. Get your copy now, available on Amazon and in libraries near you. There's only one easy way to experience the exploration of Cameroon, and it's through London and Sydney. Don't wait, get yours.
Is it just, needing help? Because I like the audience that listens, most listen, you guys go over it so you can see what the bag looks like and go to the YouTube and go give it some likes over there. But is it the distribution? So if somebody is in distribution and says, you know what, I want those, are you able to produce enough to make it make sense at this point? If they help out with that part?
So even getting the distributor, it's still, you need the stores too. So I actually do have, I am partnering with a national distributor, but since I don't have stores, like customers outside of South Florida yet, they won't put me in their warehouses. So they have like this distribution centers throughout the country. They're like warehouses throughout the country where they would stock your product. And mine right now is only stocked in one DC in Pompano here in Florida. So in order to get out of that warehouse and into another, I need more stores. And it's difficult with retail stores, especially like larger corporations like Whole Foods, Sprouts, Fresh Market. They do category reviews on a product once a year, sometimes less. So they would review frozen desserts once a year, and then you could expand to more stores, 6 months later, like after they review your product. So it is a very slow moving beast. And so it takes time to get, to build awareness at more stores. And then once you get a yes from a buyer, you need to say, the easiest part is getting it on the shelf. I think it still is very difficult to get the attention of a buyer. But they say, yeah, the easiest part is getting it on the shelf. The hard part is getting it off the shelf. So getting into the stores isn't really, the issue. It's now it needs to sell. And if it doesn't sell by the next category review, they'll take your product off and they'll replace it with something else. So it's a very like labor intensive, like you really have to be on top of it and make sure that your product is moving in order to get, into more stores. And you want to make sure that you can, yes, well, okay. And to answer your question, make enough product. So yes, I am actually ready to grow. I moved into my own facility in 2023. Before that, I was just renting space and shared commissary kitchens. So I never had, my own space. I didn't have a large overhead. So it was, that allowed me to grow. So yeah, I started out in a shared commissary kitchen. Then I moved to a catering company's kitchen. And then I moved to a bakery where I could use their equipment off hours. And so it was a whole process in order to go to my own space where I could handle a larger demand. Now I did move into a space where I can handle this larger demand. And now I need to get yeses from buyers in order to expand with my distributor and get onto more shelves. So it's been a learning curve for sure.
Well, let us know what you need help with, whether it's now or even later on. If you have an event, I was just at a podcaster's event recently, and one thing I know is the only reason you're not in other stores or states is because they haven't tried the product. Anybody who likes cookies, if they bite into this, they're gonna say, yes, this is it, because there's so many things that like aren't made with love. Like the way you pack your ingredients in, it's like, yes, I need more. I mean, the way you described it in the beginning, thick, moist. I'm like, about cookies. And I'm like, okay, which cookies is she? I mean, some of my audience, I know they're going to hit me. Like, I didn't know where we're going with this, but the description was beautiful. What do yeah, you're welcome. When you started this, and this is for the either 14-year-old or the 44-year-old who says, you know what, I have a dream, but my family doesn't really able to support it, or maybe they don't support it and they don't believe me, or I don't have a venture capitalist or an angel investor. Did you have any of that when you started? Because it sounded like you just had a recipe in Uruguay and you started, but when you came to America, especially here in Palm Beach, South Florida, things are, there's money here. There's money here. Did you take any venture capital or friends and family?
No. So I started with $3,000, which was enough for the first commissary kitchen, first and last month's rent, and some equipment and ingredients. And with that, and I didn't have my fancy pouches. I had plain white bags that I would Sharpie directions on. And then I moved to stickers, and then I moved to these bags, but this is actually my hand. That's my photo. I hand drew my logo. I didn't hire any designers, any like experts, no consultants. It was just baby steps. And then I showed up at every farmer's market in the area. So when I first started, we were in full-blown pandemic mode. So farmers markets weren't accepting new vendors. So I actually ended up selling in a neighborhood in Jupiter that allowed me to set up on people's private driveways. So it wasn't, against the city code. They weren't allowing, events to happen. And so I was setting up on private driveways and just selling to people in the neighborhood. Then finally some markets opened up. I started in farmers markets by 2021. I want to say at that point I was doing like 4 to 6 markets a week. And I started selling to, gourmet like specialty stores. And yeah, I think it was in 2021 or maybe 2022 was when I got my printed bags. And then I started selling to a supermarket in Miami. By 2023, I was able to take out a small loan through QuickBooks. So not banks. Banks are not giving me any credit. I have tried. And I can't, since I was living abroad before starting the business, I didn't have credit history. So nobody sees me as a human being, basically. I can't get any credit. So I was able to get about $20,000 loan through QuickBooks because of my sales at the markets that had, proven income. And with that money, I was able to invest in my equipment in my kitchen. But I did get a little lucky because when I moved into my own kitchen space, it's 400 square feet, so it still is pretty small, but it's small and mighty. It was actually already built out as a kitchen. The previous tenants had used it as a commissary. So they had invested in the plumbing and the electrical, and they had put in the floors and the walls, and they invested in the space to make it, to follow regulations. So I actually didn't have any investment in the kitchen itself. It was just equipment. So that was, very lucky. And then by summer 2023, I was accepted into Whole Foods Local and Emerging Accelerator Program. And this is an amazing accelerator program where Whole Foods chooses 10 companies in the country per year to go through this course. They had over 1,000 applicants, so it still is just like the most mind-blowing thing that, La Gringuita was accepted. But I got to go through this course, learn all things consumer packaged goods. And at the end of the course, Whole Foods made a $25,000 equity investment for 1%. And that's set up as a convertible note. So that was my first, real legitimate, validation and investment. From there, I did have to invest more in the business, and getting my kitchen and walk-in freezer. I ended up taking over the bay next door for just storage space. And that was an investment. So since I have launched in Whole Foods, my overhead is so much higher and my margins are smaller. So I really need to, get scale to keep the business going, because I started with so little money that I don't have any safety net. So for people like, the 14-year-old or the 44-year-old who wants to start a business, I think that you just have to understand that if you don't have, the finance behind you, the finances, that you need to put in the sweat equity. So it's just going to take a little bit more time and work. I think for me at this point in my business, I have tried to apply for an SBA loan. I didn't get it, even with Whole Foods backing me and, validating my business. And again, I still can't get credit from banks. So it feels like an unfair, it's been, really stressful on that side. It just doesn't feel like there's enough support for people. And I don't want to tell somebody to not start a business, because I think you absolutely should if you have that dream and lean into it. But I think something's got to change here, and that's what I'm learning. And I'm still going to keep moving forward, and we'll apply to more SBA loans, and possibly look for an angel investor if that's my only option. But that the financial aspect has been tricky as the business grows, because you're actually spending money to grow it. It's not like you get on shelf in stores and now you're making more money. So it's interesting.
And those are lessons that we learn from, conversations like this. So I thank you for sharing. We also learn from other shows like Shark Tank. And I know Mark Cuban would give you a clap right now. Have you tried to go on Shark Tank? Because, you're like, we're waiting for it, and saying, yeah, we wish we could vote, We even have a Shark Tank of Palm Beach County. I don't know if you've ever seen America's Great Deal. But
No.
I'll share some information with you after.
Yep.
I'm just learning about it myself, and some of the people connected to it. They do it on, Ocean Drive, and it's seasonal. But they have some billionaires, on the panel. And, but you said angels. Maybe you don't want the venture capital Shark Tank does. Give us, tell the audience, why'd you say angels, and if you would go on Shark Tank?
Yeah, so first I did apply for Shark Tank way in the beginning. I want to say it was probably 2022. And I went through the whole interview process. I I think there were like 3 interviews, and then I had to fill out a ton of paperwork and do a 10-minute video. And they said, like, okay, if we call you back, then you're selected. And if you don't get a call, like, we don't, give rejections. So, then you'll know if you don't get a call. And I never got a call. So that was a couple of years ago, maybe even a little bit longer. So we'll see what happens in the future. You never know. And with an angel, if I did take on an angel, I do think that I would look for somebody that is an industry veteran in consumer packaged goods who could be a strategic partner. I'm coming into this industry a complete novice, and I was living abroad before starting the business. I don't have any connections here. I do a lot of networking. So, 4 years later, I do now, but still, like, within the industry and at a national presence, it's so new to me. So, like, if I were to work with somebody, I would want somebody that would be willing to be a little bit hands-on, and could be an advisor / mentor, and a strategic partner. So that's a possibility. I'm open to it. I'm right now not like actively seeking, but I have gotten to the point where 2024 launching with Whole Foods has been expensive. And if I grow into more stores, it does take a lot of money. Slotting fees, promotions, just trade spend in general. You have to make sure, like I was saying earlier, that the product moves and it's new, and people tend to shop with what they know. So seeing a new product on shelf doesn't necessarily mean that somebody's going to go ahead and grab it, especially with, something as novel as bake from frozen dough. So they come in form balls that you bake at home. That's, kind of white space in frozen desserts. My product doesn't exist. So to kind of tell somebody that they need something that they've never even heard of, it takes a lot of education, and that means money.
Definitely. Would you be open to people, buying wholesale, and would you be opposed to them if you could allow that? They say, look, I want to put it on Amazon, and another person say, I want to put it on Walmart, and I want to put it on here. Is that something that you would even entertain?
Yeah, so for Amazon, I am actually on Amazon. I'm not actively selling through it, just because, again, you do need you need to market it and spend money, add money to not be on page 1000. So I am open to that. If I were to, like, let's say, like, really blow up and do 100,000 or whatever month of my dough, I would have to be working with like a 3PL fulfillment center. So I wouldn't be shipping myself, which is what I'm doing right now. So it's kind of like the chicken or the egg. Like, does the demand come first, or do you start partnering with somebody before you get the demand? So I've done research, like, okay, what if, a video goes viral and I got to scale up really fast. It would be working with like a fulfillment center. So that's, I'm definitely open to that. Yes. But I need the demand and the awareness to get people to purchase.
Okay, well, anybody listening out there, and I want that information of what they'd have to buy. You can send over an email, text, whatever, what the minimum is, because we put things on for clients, tea on Amazon, but because they had 100,000 every video they put out, it's easy to sell tea like that. When they have 1 million plus people following them, it's easy to sell tea like that. But there's been other products that, it's one thing too to get on Amazon. It's quite easy to keep up with the fulfillment, because Amazon's like a drug dealer, and one of the best. I need more, like AWS. I need more. You need more storage. You got to have more. It's the best part of capitalism sometimes. So, but you had said something about you got denied by the SBA, which legally, the SBA, as long as you have, last time I was told, because I went through the SBA program just to have a banker tell me, I don't want to deal with them. Kellen, I know you. I'll give you the money in Lubbock, Texas. I'll give you the money to start this trucking business. But they have to, if you have a 20%, give you a loan like the banks. And I was denied from my first bank. And what my friend told me, who I went to church with, he said, yeah, they denied you. They're not supposed to. But I don't want to deal with the SBA either. That's why he gave me the money. He's like, it's more of a headache to deal with the SBA. I will give you the money. You already have the money. You just don't want to use your money. I get it in case the engine blows out. But were you aware that legally they really can't say no? They got like a list of 80 banks that have to say yes as long as you go through the SBA program. And if that is incorrect and you're getting bad information, we need other people to know that. So when I talk with the government and I give it to my friends who work in that, say, what the heck is going on? Something is broken here, and you lied to us like Santa Claus was real.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I did go through a bank. It was PNC, which I have gotten advice from people to go to smaller banks. I was referred to that bank because I was connected to a woman that was supposed to specialize in women-owned small businesses. And so anyways, it was like a 3-month-long process. And I didn't know prior to applying that I shouldn't just apply to one. I should apply to 10 all at once because, you know, most banks do reject. And that's, you know, I was told that I qualified for the loan. And then, 3 months later of the whole process, they were just like, no. So,
Did SBA give you the stamp? Like, did you go through the whole packet? They gave you the packet and the stamp?
No, it was all PNC paperwork.
Okay, go through the SBA. And
Okay.
I'm not saying, again, they're the quickest. But once SBA goes and picks through your business plan, because I mean it was a big package, and it literally, at least back then, it was like a stamp of approval, and I'm just walking just happy. And so, but and I'll send you some information on this, but they should. But it also sometimes is a sign that maybe this is the bank for you. I love credit unions because banks sometimes are so impersonal, and you know, I have some good ones. Truist, Seacoast, treat me so much better than my Bank of America and Chase and One United. But, you know, it's sometimes because of the staff, like Miss Virginia over there in Wellington, she's like, I'll vouch for him. And I'm like, thank you, Miss Virginia. I can't even say the full detail why she vouched. I don't want to get in trouble. But she knew who I was. She knew what I had, and that, you know, I wasn't my twin brother. But I really want entrepreneurs to know that there's funding out there. But we also, like, I'm part of Florida Funders, very small member, and they don't want to give you $1 million as a VC. They want to give you 10, but they only deal in tech. So, you know, you have to know where you're going to get this money because people have been booted off. I have friends who've been booted off their companies once they take the money because they're oddballs. Yeah. Entrepreneurs are unique. We don't make sense to the people who are sitting behind the desk saying, oh, I'll give you this money, you know, especially at the bank. You're not even the marketer for your bank. All you do, you sit behind the desk and you do what they say and you push papers. No disrespect. I'm putting up my livelihood to do this business. So it's a different grind, you know. Can you tell the people in the grind, and I know the best is yet to come, but what is the community give back that you are doing or that you would like to do in the future?
So the community is the reason why I'm still in business. They, by purchasing, you know, just one cookie or one bag of frozen dough, they are keeping me in business. So, and it's honestly so amazing. Just recently, somebody came. I'm still a vendor at the West Palm Green Market. Somebody came by and he didn't know that I was the owner, and he was just making small talk with me, saying like, "Oh, you know, I used to buy from them in the Heights in Jupiter, that neighborhood that hosted me during the pandemic, like on the driveway," and I was like, "That was me." You know, so he had been supporting my business for 4 years, and he was like, "Oh, I picked them up at this store and this store." And so it's really about like not so much that, I'm hitting national awareness, but that I have so many repeat customers that are keeping me in business. So just the community and like on social media, the messages that people send me, cheering me on, it's pretty remarkable how, like the emotional connection you get by being in business. It's really amazing. And then so many, networking groups like that community of, young professionals in the area has been extremely helpful. And then more like a national presence, the Whole Foods Accelerator program, that community is just, so beautiful. And what Whole Foods corporate team is able to do for us entrepreneurs, and then also what the other entrepreneurs in the cohort are able to do for, each other. It's just also so amazing that, so many people are willing to help each other. That has been, just the most rewarding thing to see and to be part of. It's truly incredible.
And I'm going to clarify because, and I love that you said that. And my question, because my signature question, so I want to make sure I always get it right. What are you doing for the community? And I'm totally just looking for you to say, well, I do a tasting and I want to be the first one there. So that's what I'm asking. What are you doing for the community, or what do you plan on doing for the community in the future?
Yeah, so okay, cookie wise, I do tastings in like Whole Foods stores. So you can always show up for one of my tastings if you want to try some free cookies and get the whole sampler. And then I find that it's really important for me to also give back to other people that are trying to start businesses. So people reach out to me pretty often on Instagram, like very often, and they just say, I have this idea, whatever. How do, and usually it's food related. So how do you get a license? How do you get a permit? And nobody helped me. The information is really not online. So I try to either meet with them in person. Usually we meet in person, but sometimes it's just a Zoom call. But just to lay out the steps on how do you get go through a permit with the Department of Ag, and how do you get to the kitchen, and where do you find it, and how much should you pay in rent? And no, that's too much, like, stuff like that. I love it. It inspires me, especially when people are in those initial like phases. It's just pure excitement. And so I can kind of like feed off of that too. And it's just really exciting to see that people are willing to follow their dreams and willing to act on an idea, even though it's not, a reality yet. Like, that's just so magical. So I love getting my hands in that. And I hope that, the people that reach out to me, because I reach out to people that are farther along than me. So I hope that people will continue to reach out to me that are just starting, and, that they feel comfortable doing that. So I can, learn about their business idea and help them get it off the ground.
Okay, and that gets you into the consulting arm. Again, I want to make it very clear for anybody who knows sweet Caroline and wah. I'm sure people said, "Why didn't you make your cookies that?" But
yeah,
I wanna even say, if you ever say I need a new flavor, I'm telling you, the banana cream pie flavor, I'm there for it. Let me know. I love these cookies. You do.
Thank you. Follow me. So I do on my spring menu, I have a banana pudding cookie, and I steep bananas in milk, and then let the bananas sit in the milk for 24 hours. And then I turn that milk, I drain the bananas out, and I turn that milk into a custard, and the cookie is stuffed with that naturally flavored banana custard, and then it's rolled in turbinado sugar, and it is one of my best cookies. So I'll get you some. I do it in the spring. And
I'm not and let me tell you this, and thank you. I'm I am one of those who I don't mind getting my hands dirty. I'm not opposed to getting the cookies on a Sharpie. I love that. You know, that's how you started. Starting with music, that's most start. But then when, you know, whatever you get to your success, whatever that is for you, and you're like, whoa, because you're successful right now. You've grown and you keep growing and you're making it look good and inspiring people. What about for those of us who try to be dairy-free? We don't have to be gluten-free, but dairy-free. Can you ever do anything in almond milk or coconut milk? Do those even turn out the way that we're used to things?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I actually have come up with both gluten-free and a vegan recipe. I'm waiting to get more established before I offer more variations, just because it's already a mouthful to say 1/4 pound stuffed frozen cookie dough. If I add vegan and gluten-free, it's just like a lot to take in. But I definitely, once I'm more established, I would love to offer a dairy-free, and even, you know, you said it doesn't have to be gluten-free, but I can do gluten-free too. And I do see that happening in the future. I want that, but it could be, you know, I don't know. It just depends on how long it takes to get more established, to get like a national presence.
I love it. I could go on Joe Rogan style, but I promise you guys, the next time you see us together, she is going to invite me somewhere. I don't know if I'll be in the kitchen with my chef hat. I really have the chef hat and everything. I'm working on a couple different ventures where I'm like, I should get my food handler's license just in case, because out here in Loxahatchee, I might want to turn this house into a commercial kitchen. I don't know. We don't have a commissary kitchen in this area. Someone's working possibly on one, but he's not sure if he wants to go that route. But my brain is always moving, and I love business. So I thank you. I don't want to go too deep in weeds, because I do have some vultures who listen. And if I say too much on numbers, they're going to call you and try to have somebody try to have their business bought out in an unrighteous way. Didn't like it. So I said, okay, be mindful that if you start talking numbers, your vultures are going to call. And they know I'm talking about them. It's okay. They know I love them. But they just love a different side of the business. I love that you're growing this and you're still young. The best is yet to come. Like the cookie queen of cookies. Let the people know again where they can find you, whether it's Amazon, Walmart, your website.
So yeah, for outside of South Florida, the website is the best. And I do have like a 10% off for your first order. And then I ship throughout the country. It's frozen, so it comes in the insulated packaging with dry ice. And then if you are in South Florida, please go out to Whole Foods, and if you get a bag, I will be watching the data. I'll know that you got one, and it means everything to me. So that would definitely be like the best way to support, is just keeping it moving in Whole Foods.
Awesome. Well, you guys have gotten the game. I know most of you are listeners, but then again, go over to the YouTube. Go over, make your likes, your comments, but most importantly, share this game with someone. It will change their life. The cookies are that good, and the game is that good. Y'all, be blessed.
Are you tired of the rat race in America? Are you ready to visit the motherland to relax and rejuvenate? Are you ready to explore all that Africa has to offer? Then check out the brand new Diversified Game Academy course, Prepare for My First Trip to Africa. Are you worried about being able to afford the trip? We got you. We will show you how to travel either on a budget or as a baller. Learn how to stress the value of the USD. Did you know that 100 United States dollars is worth over 1,000 South African rand, or 10,000 Kenyan shillings, or 54,250 West African CFA? Are you worried about taking your kids? Get the game from Kelly Cash, a bona fide world traveler, having traveled to almost 20 countries, several of those in Africa. Get the game on taking your kids on their first trips. Learn how to find the best tickets, get the visas, and plan your own adventures in Africa. Don't let Eddie Murphy have all the fun. Plan your own coming to Africa trip starring you, produced by you, and featuring you. If you are ready for a life-changing experience, sign up for our course today, Diversified Game Academy. Get prepared and purchase at diversifiedgame.com.